So the big question is this: how do veterinarians like you, who live demanding lives,
who never seem to have enough time, be able to achieve balance and take control of your finances with confidence?
That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers.
We are Florida Veterinary Advisors, and this is the SmarterVet Podcast. Hey, SmarterVet. Welcome back to the SmarterVet Financial Podcast. This is your co-host, Tom Seeko, and co-founder of Florida Veterinary Advisors. We are a national business and personal financial planning firm that provides a different way of thinking to make financial decisions easy so you can spend time doing other things that you love. If you haven't had a chance to listen to our many, many other podcasts, we've got a whole dozen of them, I think over 200 of them now that you can listen to. We've got master classes, race CEs. We even wrote a book recently. So if you're looking just for more content beyond all of this, you can find a lot of this through flvetadvisors.com. And if this is your first time joining us, we're really happy to have you here. You are what makes our show what it is. I'm thrilled to have this guest on the show today. It's been someone that I've been watching from afar for a while, and I've been intrigued by her journey and the things that she's been doing. And I hope that you all enjoy some of this conversation that we're going to have today. And I want to bring on the show, it's Dr. Michele Drake. She's a veterinarian, an author, a 30-year practice owner of the Drake Center, and co-founder of Genius Vet. So she's got so much that she's done over her career. And Michele, I'm really glad to have you here with me.
Oh, glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. Well, so I want to start from the beginning here. And, your journey of ownership, from what I understand, started when you were in your 20s. Mm-hmm. Over that time period, what were some of the lessons you've learned early on that still influence how you lead your team today?
Yeah, so I was, I think everyone can look back to their journey of when they, bought their first practice and why they bought their first practice, what motivated them, what were the things that led into that, that natural progression, I suppose. And for me, I was just so motivated after 3 years of being out of school that I had this passion for how I thought service and care should be delivered. And I also had a passion for how, I don't think I knew to call it culture then, but how the environment that we worked in should be. And I thought, I don't really have any business telling another owner how to do this. So I just decided I needed to do this on my own. I had really, really strong feelings and passions about it and a lot of energy behind that. So I decided that I needed to go ahead and get that going on my own. And I will say that I have a couple superpowers. I think everyone has superpowers that they think about what are things I'm really good at. And one of the things I'm really good at is knowing what I don't know. And so knowing what I didn't know at age 27 was I knew about how to provide good care and service, I believed. And I had a pretty good idea how to manage employees. But there are so many things about running a business. This is a business that I purchased. I bought a little tiny practice, and it's a business. And so I knew that I didn't know things about, the HR laws and taxes and accounting and inventory supply and maybe, just lots of other things. And so, just like with what you guys do with the services that you provide, those are not specialties that veterinarians know. So again, knowing to lean into people like yourself is really important to do so that we can then focus all of our energies on, the aspect of running a veterinary hospital and caring for our clients and our team as well. So I hired a veterinary accounting firm right off the bat. And I had a retired veterinarian who came and visited with me like every 4 months and just kind of help walk me through the numbers on like a quarterly or, every 4 months basis, whatever worked out in our schedules, and would just help me look at what I was doing and really focus on these numbers. And it's not as if you run your business off your numbers, but if you don't pay attention to them, you're not going to do as well. And so, from the get-go, I knew what I didn't know, and I did lean into finding out who are the people that I should listen to, because there are a lot of people giving advice. You should not listen to all of them. You got to really be thoughtful about, really paying attention. So my second superpower is my ability to read people, and I think that's just really teaching yourself how to be very present when you're meeting someone new, or you're interviewing someone, or you're looking for a new service, like with the business you guys run. Like really being thoughtful about like paying attention to that person and making sure this is going to be a good relationship fit as well. So that was being my other superpower, just able to find good people to help me with the business aspects of running the veterinary practice.
What I find so interesting about the veterinary profession, and I love how you right out of the gate were I don't know some things and I'm going to other people to help me. And there are so many people that try to do things on their own within veterinary
Mhm.
medicine. And then eventually they get so far down the road and they're like, oh, maybe I should bring someone in here. And I've seen some that have lost so much time because of that. And I love the fact that you're like, I openly already decided on that. And I
Mhm.
wanted to hang on here for a second with the passion part here. Like, where do you think your passion came from?
I mean, probably like many veterinarians and many in the field. I mean, I wanted to be a veterinarian since I was 3. And I did grow up in an entrepreneurial family. Like everyone in my family back in St. Louis, Missouri owned businesses. A lot of real estate, business developers. My dad was in construction. He had a company called Drake Homes, and he built 6 to 10
Nice.
homes a year. So, that, and I read the Wall Street Journal every day since I was pretty young. I still read it every single day. So, just learning more and more about things that I don't know about. Because, again, my passion was veterinary medicine. And my passion was just like, I grew up we had 2 schnauzers and they were part of our family. So like was like, I'm going to be the practice owner and our practice is not for everyone, but I want to provide the very best care and service. So that means we're not going to be the cheap ones in the area, but we're going to be the ones that if your dog or your cat is a part of your family, then this is the practice you want to be at. And I'm never going to let stones go unturned, like figuring out what is the best care, who's the best specialist for this, what other kind of research do I need to do, and that's the kind of team that I have, that we're going to hold your hand through difficult times and make sure that you have the best care that you can manage to have. Because again, like my 2 dogs are laying in my office right now, like they're part of my family. So that passion of that and the connection, that human animal bond, is so important to people. Like really is a huge thing. Our animals bring so much value to our lives. So I think that's
Amen.
where a lot of the passion comes from.
I love it. I'm a big animal person myself. My wife always pokes fun at me for how much love I have for our animals. Like I just can't help it. I have a little Maltipoo. He's
Oh, I
7
love
pounds.
them.
Yeah, he just turned
Very
10
cute.
in March of 25. So yeah, they get old so fast.
Yeah.
Well, as your career has progressed, I mean, you've become a speaker, an author in the veterinary space, and what inspired you to step into that type of position, and how has speaking and writing allowed for you to influence the profession beyond just doing regular clinical work?
So about 5 to 10 years into practice ownership, I realized I was actually pretty good at it. I grew from 1 doctor to we currently have 13 doctors at the Drake Center. And that growth was based on having a great mission and culture as being the base of the practice, and then be leaning
Mm,
into business practices to run, to make sure that those things we could do those things. But like as I realized I was pretty good at it because I had my numbers compared to about 200 other practices in California. And I'm also following the AHA numbers as well, like benchmarks of best practice. Then I had a couple pharmaceutical companies invite me. They're like, your practice is totally different. Our reps say that it's a very unique place. Would you consider doing some consulting work for us? Would you consider speaking for us? So things just started kind of happening. I was asked to be, part of AHA. I was asked to be part of AVMA, in different capacities. And I really chose not to do a lot of those things because I was also a VMG member, and I had a family and I ran a practice. And so, there's only so many things you can do. But when the opportunity came along for Genius Vet, so our CEO was a client of mine, and he and his classmate, who was our other partner, 3 of us, came to me and said, "Hey, we're going to start this business, and you have such a great practice. Would you like to be the face of our business, or would you be interested in being on our board?" And I said, "No, I would like to be a partner because I have a passion for sharing all the wisdom and knowledge that I've accumulated on how to do this really well. I'd like to share that with my colleagues because I feel like they really need to hear this information. And I think it's very different to hear it from a business person as opposed to someone who actually has done all the things that they're doing." So I always tell people I was a 1 doctor practice, and now I'm 13, and I've been every step along the way. I've been a 2, a 3, a 4. So I know the whole growth, experience that you have. I've bought businesses. I've built out new facilities. I mean, I've done a lot of different things over my career. So I do have a pretty good understanding of those things. And I've built a system. I call it my veterinary practice operating system. which becomes more sophisticated and more involved the larger that you become. But the idea is that you have a system in how you run your business, your practice. So I wanted to share that. And also just having my practice be mission driven and having this culture that is so strong, which requires constant feeding care of a culture to have that and keep it that way. I feel like veterinary practices really fail in these areas, and I created a system of how to do it, and I'd like to share it with people and have them just take little bits and pieces from what I've done and what I have to share and add it to their own practice and their own spin on things, because there's not one way of doing things, right? There's many ways of doing that, but from people that have done it and have done it well, I think we have something to learn from them, and I included myself in that group of people.
That's great. I love that you've built your practice from 1 to 15 veterinarians. And when you started off in your business, were you like, I want to have a lot of veterinarians working in a practice, or what was the trigger?
Really what it was that it turned out, I know this sounds like I've said it many times already, but having a really strong mission and people don't understand what that means. That means that every day, every employee understands why we're walking in the building. Like, this is why we're here. And then not allowing and then having a good structure and having an organization and not allowing dysfunction to go on in that building. And so when you have a really strong mission driven hospital like that, it turns out it's also an amazing business plan as well. So, yeah.
Definitely, I support a lot of that too, because the mission and vision, I mean, even our business is very big about that, because I think we've gotten to a pace in our own practice, not veterinary medicine, but financial planning type spot. And now it's like, we're trying to figure out how to grow beyond ourselves. But we've designed that mission and vision. And if you don't have it, then people don't know why they're there, and they don't have something to grab onto.
Yeah. So I had thoughts of, maybe having different locations, and I actually ventured into that a little bit. And then I realized, I bought 3 over the years, sold one, merged one, and just felt like I'm going to do one just super, super well. And so it, like I said, it turns out that just what we were doing was a really good business plan. So we kept growing. We grew a lot. Like before COVID, I had up to, I think, 7 or 8 doctors. COVID, we crushed it because we were able to take on so much business because we had a system and a way we ran and a really strong culture. So we were able to grow like 30%. And then after COVID, we continued to grow, which is very unusual in veterinary medicine over the past few years, as a lot of people contracted or they imploded during COVID, or they just, weren't able to grow. We continued to grow, way outpacing the norms of what they have been for the last few years, following the numbers that are out there. And so that's allowed us to go, up to 13 now. So we just hired a new grad who's getting ready to join us next week.
That's really cool. I want to highlight this too for everyone who is listening, because it's, having a mission and a vision from this conversation, just having something that people can all rally around and having processes and systems in place. It seems it's so elementary on the surface level, but when you really start putting them in play, it really can make a difference. I mean, I've experienced it myself. I mean, even seeing the success of your veterinary hospital, even it speaks volumes. And, being a strong advocate for independent practice ownership, what do you see as some of the biggest advantages and also challenges of trying to stay independent today?
I mean, it's a massive benefit to be an independent practice owner. Like, you are a master of your own destiny, right? So you can decide. I always, when I speak to people, I'm like, if you don't like something today, you have you have the ability to change it tomorrow, begin the planning for like whatever it is you don't like about your business, you can change that. If you are in a setting, where you're not the owner of the business, like I wasn't when I was, a new doctor, and there were some decent practices in, but I was like, I want to do this. And so like, you don't have the chance to do that, so like you can decide what it is you want to do. The tough part is it's maybe simple, but it's not easy. It requires constant focus, and a system to run. And that's what I really encourage everyone when I speak, which I'm going to speak on Saturday at Fetch. And I just talk to people like, you've got to have a system. So it doesn't matter your size. It doesn't matter like really how you choose, like the meetings, how you do them, but you must have them. You must be planning, and your vision may change. And my vision changed over the years, and that's totally fine. But you have to always have it and ahead of you of like, where am I now? where am I going and how am I going to get there? And then communicating that with your team on a regular basis, because they can't read your mind. So you need to constantly communicate these things and get their input and their buy-in and their pushback when they think there's something you're not doing right. That's cool too. But it's a constant process. And if you don't take the time to work on your practice and not just in it, you will never achieve that. So that's, I think, really what has separated my success from a lot of other people, is that I actually have taken the time, even when I was working 6 days a week, taking calls 7 days a week, which I did for 5 years by myself to build my practice. I still cut out at least an hour a week when I would just get a piece of paper and pencil and just scribble the things that where I was now and where I wanted to go. And then I would share that with my very small team and get their buy-in, and so that they knew what I was trying to accomplish.
Amazing. There's so little people that actually do that. They sit down, they review things, and I will say it's very easy to get caught up into what's happening.
It's so much easier for veterinarians to say, I'm too busy. And I'm like, I did this too. So I've had children too. Like, I've done all those things. Sorry, that is not an excuse. But that's because it's easier for them to be in the exam room on the phone with a client or doing surgery than it is for them to business plan. But I'm like, it's really not that hard. It's just taking time out. And I think you need to step outside your practice. Don't try to do it inside the practice, because as an owner, you're just constantly interrupted, which is great. That's what it should be. But if you want to actually business plan, you need to do it outside of the practice and be thoughtful about it.
Right. We're big advocates as well, where eventually at some point ownership is going to shift hands. There's a few different avenues it's going to happen. And eventually, if you don't want to be a part of it anymore, what is it also the other side of the story? Kind of thinking about like the Super Bowl game, where it's like halftime comes and like people might think they have the game in the bag, but then the second half comes and you get wrecked. And it's, so it's like, you got to really be looking at your plan of, okay, well, I'm trying to grow my business. How does this all also relate with my personal stuff? And so I will tell you, it's incredible. I think even doing this for the last decade myself and working within the veterinary community, I find it intriguing when I run into people like yourself, because so many more people should be taking, even if it's, every couple of weeks, or if they sit down like once a quarter and block out a couple hours, just do something more than what they're doing. And I'm sure the results that they have and the direction they're going, they'll feel so much more confident about it, and they'll have more direction of what they need to do versus, I've run into people in their 60s and they're like, I'm ready to get out of ownership, and they have no idea. It's just like, how
it's
do I
a
do this?
5-year process. So if you're even thinking about it, like, start planning. Without a doubt, it's a lot to unpack, especially, I think if you've been doing it like as long as I have, like, how many owners have owned their business for 30 years? That's kind of like a rarity anymore, I think. But still, like, even if it's 20 years or whatever it is, like, be thoughtful about it. And you should be kind of like, I think in your planning, at least once a year, should be like, what's my exit strategy? And it can change, just like your vision may change, but like, at least put some thought into, what does it look like for me? What am I trying to achieve? What are my financial goals for my family? Like, what makes sense? Do I have enough to retire? That's what they need you for, and your team to help them with things like that as well. But those are, I just think part of like goals and annual planning should include the discussion with yourself or your partner or whatever about, how this looks in the end. And nothing's perfect ever. And, but you just make your best decisions and keep moving forward.
That's right. When you look back over your career so far, what would you say has been the most meaningful part of your work? And what legacy do you hope to leave within the veterinary profession?
That's a pretty easy question for me to answer. We have a beautiful hospital that's mission driven, and we provide the very best care and service I'd say in San Diego. We're really a special practice, and it's palpable as soon as you walk in the door. But I think one of the things I'm most proud of is that I've created a business that people enjoy working in. And there's, so much discussion on burnout and all the terrible things about our business. And I think it's completely unnecessary. I'm sorry, but I'm one of these people that tell you like how you run your facility. And I think this is on the owners and the managers. Like, I think it's our responsibility to provide a good place for people to work. And so like really stretching for that and working for that all the time. But, creating this environment, my doctors never leave. Like, the tenure at my hospital. Right now I have new doctors that have joined within the past 5 years. I have like 5 doctors, and still the tenure is about 15 years average for how long the doctors have been with me. And most of them, like I said, the only times they've left is when I left my practice, moved to San Francisco because her husband got a big job and they needed to move. So yeah, and we miss her a lot. She was great. She misses us too. She lets us know she's never found a practice like ours, but creating a place like that is pretty unique, and I'm very proud of that.
That's great. I love it. And I hope that your practice continues to strive and thrive for very, very long time. And Michele, I think it's been awesome talking with you today. And I don't know if there's any final thoughts you want to leave with people, maybe a little takeaway or a tidbit from all this conversation, like just to leave them a little something.
I think just remembering to take the time to work on your practice is so important. And so at the end of my talks, I always say it's the discipline to work on your practice. So write yourself a note right now. I'm going to meet with myself and my partner once a week, once a month, whatever it is that is your cadence that works for you. But you have to do that, and you have to plan and have a vision, or you just won't get anywhere.
I agree. Thanks for listening today, SmarterVet. If you'd like to get in touch with Michele, you'll be able to find her information in the show notes of this episode. And if you've not grabbed a copy of her book, you can go visit Amazon.com and go snag one. It's definitely a read that you should have on your bookshelf. And don't just put it on your bookshelf. Actually, make sure you read the book. And if you found that this episode has been helpful, please make sure to share it with a friend or 5, because it really helps get the word out there about our show. Other people get the same great information. And if you've not had a chance to rate and review us on Apple or Spotify, please take the moment to do that, because it really does help us. This is Tom Seeko, wishing you a lifetime of financial success. Don't forget to visit our website and sign up for our newsletter. By subscribing, you'll be the first to know about upcoming race-approved CE webinars, podcast releases, short presentations, and articles that we publish. Make sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on LinkedIn, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.